welcome to a European soccer end of season review. I got Sebastian on. We are kind of circling this day as a day to reflect on 38 weeks plus of European soccer that we followed, the highs and the lows. Also take a kind of a snapshot of all the other leagues besides Arsenal's Premier League, just to see what went on there, who had good years, who had bad years, what were the fails, what were the misses, and what were the successes. So, Steve, just generally first, what did you enjoy about the season? What were some of the storylines you liked, and what were your overall thoughts and feelings coming off? It was a long, enduring slog for us because every week it was like a butt clench game. But what did you feel?
Well, that's a title that's like a title run-in, isn't it? That's what you ask for ultimately. We want it to be relevant. So from an Arsenal perspective, I feel like we got everything outside the final prize, but it's better than being irrelevant like we sometimes were over the last decade. Are we talking generally for Europe or for the Premier League, what we enjoyed?
We can go league by league. So from Premier League, let's start Premier League. I feel like naturally City's 6 and 7 years, 4 straight Premier Leagues. They won the Champions League coming off the trouble last year. They have kind of cemented themselves as a dynasty in the modern dynasty, and the teams we like the two versions of Barca, the first the Messi Barca and then the MSN Barca afterwards, Real Madrid's from 13 to 20, we talked about it. And even going earlier, Manchester United's run, Arsenal's invincible run, they have melded all good aspects of these teams and they're dominating the Premier League. So I think we have to talk about them first. Anything on City?
Well, that's the storyline. It's the storyline of the year, but if we're talking things I enjoyed, I didn't necessarily enjoy it.
Of course not. 115.
They have a
Manchidi is what I've been hearing.
Whatever. I like I've said, I kind of hope that ends up not being something just because it'll make everything hurt much more.
That's true. Justice for them, but not justice for us. It won't feel like we reserve those last two if we get it.
Yeah, it's irrelevant at this point.
Yeah. I see what you mean.
Yeah, that was probably the positive storyline of the year in the Premier League. I mean, I think they have a strong case for being the best Premier League side of all time, or at least in the modern era. I don't have the same animus towards them that a lot of people do. I do like Pep quite a bit. I like Haaland a lot. I've liked Haaland for years. Foden impresses the hell out of me. He's just such a talented player. I guess if we're talking the most enjoyable storyline in the Premier League, I kind of loved Manchester United because it was just every single week. What's going to happen this week? That's not really very positive though, but I do think it was just the most entertaining week to week. And I guess you could say, yeah, that was probably, I'd say that's the most enjoyable. But the best storyline is for sure City. Shout out, props to them. I guess also Klopp's last stand.
Farewell. That's another one. Yeah. There's a lot of interesting threads throughout the season. Arsenal's revival and stuff. We talked about that enough. But for City, I'll give them credit for one, creating a style, that innovation of the 4 center backs, inverting from the back, complete control base, dictating where your opponent gets to play. That all the stuff that Arteta does comes directly from Pep. And you can see it in the Man City teams. And I'll give them credit for creating a new version of themselves. The original version with Yaya Toure and Kun Aguero and David Silva and young KDB. And now, over 7 years, they cycled all them out. They even cycled out the next generation of Riyad Mahrez and Gundogan who replaced them. And now they're on the 3rd iteration, and they're still as dominant. So the combination of buying and coaching and development is very good. You can't top of Europe, I would say, almost. So give them credit for that. For Manchester United, it was nice to see that when our struggling years, we got so much shit. It was nice to be on the other side of that and say okay, our trajectory is fine, and now we're looking at an all-time great franchise really shitting the bed and how their fans can't really cope with it. So that was fun for me. You want to say something?
They got way more shit, I'd say, than we ever got because they're the biggest club in the country. So
arguably in the world, like top 3 in the world.
So
Yeah.
they got it reminded me a lot of my Dallas Cowboys, the media cycle surrounding Manchester United. Maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much, because like I always feel like that's happening for my Cowboys, and it felt like it was nice to watch it happen to another team, even though it's a totally different sport in a different part of the world. But it reminded me a lot of that media cycle.
So short of like Mourinho or even Louis Van Gaal or even like Tuchel, I feel like in terms of pure petulance, Ten Hag is just like one step below them. So in like the media interactions and stuff, is the arrogance and the like the reactions to like completely normal questions that a normal reporter would normally ask. That I enjoyed seeing Ten Hag kind of squirm under that pressure. I'll see. Like it'll be interesting if he comes back. I think they'll keep him for one more year.
They have to keep
But
him.
yeah,
I like him. I thought some of it was unfair, like what you would deal with having the biggest job in the country. But yeah, it was whatever. One other storyline I want to talk about from the Premier League that I hope gets addressed moving forward is the parachute payments just completely
it's a good
aiding,
one.
teams at the bottom. Like it's disastrous that the championship teams are just getting relegated after getting promoted after 1 year. Like it makes things much less entertaining. I was really hopeful Luton or Burnley could stay up. I didn't think Sheffield could have at the start of the season. But the fact that they both went down, even being slightly aided by, Everton and Forest being deducted points, I don't think that's a good trend. And I think that it's something that probably needs to be addressed, because it becomes boring when we're just recycling clubs.
To be clear, what you want is that they get all the money they're owed when they get promoted.
Yeah.
And so that they can spend it
Well,
immediately.
I haven't
As
thought of the
opposed
exact thing, but that does sound like a good solution that I've heard proposed. Yeah.
So okay, that's fair. So that you brought up that's one thing Premier League, English FA has to navigate, and the second thing I think is they need to make some sort of like solid resolution with VAR. They're already voting for it shortly for next year, right? So like they either they need to make it better or they need to uh, refine the techniques so that we don't hear what we heard on like just flubbing around like in complete incompetence. But that's another thing. A smaller but a little slightly more negative storyline that I think has to be mentioned is how will they navigate VAR for next year.
Voting to completely scrap it is one of the most ass backwards things I've ever heard. I
That
thought
was
Mourinho's.
Newcastle, wasn't it? Who
It
brought
was
it? It was
no, I think it
Wolves.
was it Wolves? It might have been Wolves. Yeah,
Okay,
Mourinho's quote about only the thief would vote for this, or whatever it was about. Like, I was like, that's a pretty brilliant quote, because you have to be incredibly fucking stupid to think it's a good idea for the biggest league in the world to not have technology that they have, even in like fucking tiny leagues all around the world. Like, the problem is pretty clearly with the Premier League match officials and the VAR officials, and not with the actual technology.
Oh, not the technology at all, but also the way all these like stopgaps and safeguards so that no one gets hurt or butthurt about their toes getting clipped, like needs to be done. Like the VAR needs to be the absolute end all. If they see something, they need to stop the game and address it. And so that there's no like distinction. Oh, the ref had a decision and we're confirming the ref's decision. It's just what is right. And so
That's
that's
correct.
something. Yeah. So it's tough. Quickly for Liverpool, I respect Klopp immensely. Now we are feeling what he probably felt when you get 97 points in a year, you get 91 points in a year and you don't win. That's pretty crazy. And the fact that he did that and he won a Champions League, won one league title, I got to give him credit. And he basically, Liverpool were nothing before him. The after of Rafa Benitez, they disappeared for like 5 or 10 years and he brought them back. Arne Slot will have
Slot, yeah.
Slot.
I think it's Slot.
Yeah. Slot will have a good foundation. He just needs to he has Trent Alexander-Arnold. He has Van Dijk hopefully for one more year. Salah hopefully for one more year, and then he can just fill out McAllister, Szoboszlai. Like he has the foundations of something good there. So Klopp didn't like do him dirty in any sense like that. So yeah, I have a lot of respect for Liverpool, and I only got greater after these last 2 seasons. What are your thoughts on Liverpool?
Klopp was always the manager I wanted Arsenal to get after Wenger.
Yeah, back then.
And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was really salty when he went to Liverpool, but I'm happy that it turned out the way he did because I've liked the guy for a long time going back to Dortmund. He's just the most likable manager imaginable. He's honest. He learned how to navigate the English media, which is not which is quite difficult, and
Mhm.
he did it while being himself. I don't think he was ever inauthentic, and it's pretty impressive. He just seems like a tremendous person, and I hope he enjoys his retirement.
And more than anything, he wasn't playing negative football like a Conte or Mourinho. When you see Liverpool play, they are aesthetically pleasing and exciting to watch. They're
Yeah.
a good, entertaining side, and so I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. Anything else on Premier League, or we can move on? I think we kind of touched it.
I
Newcastle
had
flubbing, Newcastle, Chelsea, and Tottenham all flubbing at the end. I don't know. But
I had I didn't. You were much higher on Newcastle at the beginning of the year than I was. I never was really very high on them. But I did enjoy that those fuckers missed European football altogether because I guess they have a chance, right? If will they make it? I forgot the table. If City wins the FA Cup, does Newcastle make Europa Conference League?
I don't know anything about
I
that.
forgot about how it finished. I think
You're
they
right. You're
finished
right.
above United, right? So maybe they didn't miss it, but I did enjoy them flubbing just because I find their fan base to be insufferable. Not they're probably my least favorite fan base in the entire Premier League. Sorry to all the Gordies out there, or whatever the fuck they're called. But
Magpies, right?
yeah, but
No.
the Magpies, but the well, I guess we'll stay in England because one of my storylines of the year, and I don't want to come back to it. It's just Ipswich, returning to the Premier League after 22 years. They did beat the odds because they haven't been there, so that's like a pretty incredible thing to do, especially considering it's back-to-back promotions from League One to the Championship, and then to the Premier League, all in like a span of 2 years. It's going to be really difficult for them to stay up, I think, but I'll be rooting for it, and hopefully they do it. Their fans deserve it. Portman Road will be cool to see in the Premier League, and I'm very happy for them.
No, sounds good. I also had Ipswich Town getting promoted on my list. I think anything else for Premier League, or I have a couple for. Let's move to La Liga then, unless you have anything.
No, that's
so. For La Liga, I had two things. Is one, Real Madrid setting the foundation for their dynasty, similar to City. This is the first year, I think, of the new class, and so they recycled out Modric, Ronaldo, Casemiro, Varane, Ramos, Marcelo, basically even Di Maria to a certain extent, Modric now. So they've recycled all their first iteration, and now they're moving to the second iteration, which looks even more promising. We talk about it a lot. So that's one. Real Madrid navigating that and then winning. Barca kind of crumbling. Them feeling the effects of their financial adultery. And then the emergence of Girona as a fourth team to compete with. But what no one's really talking about is Girona is in essence the Spanish Man City. And this is the first year. This is the first year of Girona, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, Girona," but do we really want this to happen? Like another Man City just paying their way into greatness and competing most directly with your guys, I would say, Atletico, in the next 2 to 4 years.
We'll see. I don't know what their plan is for their players. Like, I don't know if Dovbyk is going to stay there. He's probably their breakout star. He was really tremendous. I don't know. Like, these other leagues, the problem is, like Atletico winning a title once every 10 to 15 years is cool because it breaks up the monotony of the two giants.
Keeps them honest.
So, in a sense, like, you do kind of have to welcome Girona just because, like, I got to be real. La Liga became incredibly boring by the time it got to like March, when it became pretty evident Real Madrid were going to win.
Sure.
I think we had like that one Clasico where it was like, if Barca win this, they'll only be behind like 7 points or whatever, and it was like, I guess that's like slightly realistic. But I don't know. It's a problem. I mean, we'll get to Leverkusen, I'm sure, but that's what made that season so special. You always want there to be more than two teams even 3 teams. Because as much as I love Atletico, when they won their last one with Suarez, that was like miraculous. I feel like so you want it to feel like there's a realistic chance that there's going to be parity to a degree, and Girona provide that, I think.
That's the thing. Like, no matter how much money you pump into a team, it's not gonna out earn a Barca or a Real Madrid for a long time, in my opinion. They're so entrenched as like world favorites, which is surprising to me. Why Barca's felt the need to like sell off their assets, sell off portions of their TV revenue to make due to pay Frankie De Jong $500,000 a week, who was a great player, no doubt, but just a lot of corruption and like incompetence from their board has led them astray for Barca. And so I think for when you think of La Liga, you think of the defining thing is this Barca versus Real Madrid rivalry. Who's it going to be? And that's when at its peak, that's who it was. It was like Jose or Pep, Rijkaard or like Solari, you know, like all these like great names and stuff. So, and then you have these like this subset of team right underneath, like the Sevilla, Villarreal, and
Not
of course
Sevilla
top,
anymore.
not anymore, but Atletico that were there,
Bilbao.
and they were like Bilbao. They would play spoilers sometimes, and they were the ones who actually had like were the deciders almost. And so, yeah, when Barca is not good or Real Madrid is not good, I think La Liga loses a lot of its luster. Anything else on La Liga, or we can move to, like what you said, Bundesliga?
No, I think that's about it.
Okay, so Bundesliga, of course, Leverkusen to Leverkusen.
To never losing.
Never losing, yeah.
Yeah.
Bayern's barren year. Tuchel disaster. And then BVB somehow getting to the Champions League final. I think that's kind of highlighted their year. Talk to me about never losing. They finished it off. I saw Xhaka lift the trophy and stuff. It was amazing. I'm really happy for them, and just because I dislike Bayern, more favorable towards BVB, just because they beat Bayern. But what about Leverkusen? Really astounded you this year?
I just think their spirit to never lose. I mean, like they really could have folded. You see it a lot with teams once they've secured the title early. Like, oh, what are we even playing for? Well, just we lost the game to a mid-table team. Who cares? But they just never really folded. They really seemed determined to finish invincible. They're the first undefeated Bundesliga champion in history, which they can. Bayern Munich can't even say that, and they still have 2 more games, 2 more matches that they can truly be invincible throughout Europe and the Pokal. They'll probably, I mean, I don't want to say the Pokal is an inevitability, but they're playing Kaiserslautern, who's a Bundesliga 2 side who is like mid-table in the second division. So they'll be they'll be massive favorites, and it would be a huge upset if they lost. The Europa League final is Atalanta, I believe, right? And that's
2
Wednesday?
days away. Yeah,
it's Wednesday against Atalanta, I believe. That's a challenging match, but they'll also be favored to win that. I think Bayer Leverkusen are the story of the entire European football season, if you want me to be real. Like, I know that's probably jumping other parts of what we're about to talk about, but yeah, to me,
I think so too.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear. Just because when you win your first league title that way, it really is incredible, and so many players broke out as stars. I feel like through their season. We're going to do our top 10 players later, and I'm sure you probably have 1 or 2 on there. I do.
I have 4 possible nominations, actually.
4? Yeah, that's pretty incredible. So just a really impressive team. I don't know if it'll be replicated next year. I hope they continue to press on and maybe challenge Bayern. I would love to see Bayern go into like a dark period where they don't win anything.
For sure.
No offense to Harry, actually. Like, I do feel bad for him because he's an okay guy. Like, I don't have beef with Harry Kane. But I just don't like the club Bayern Munich. It feels like there's a lot of entitlement.
It'd
be good. Yeah, it'd be good for their fan base, too.
That's the perfect word I was going to say, is that when they talk about their ruling organization, like Carl, I can't say his last name ever, right? Van Rubeningen or something. But like we see his quotes and it's just so arrogant and entitled, and he expects that like other teams will kowtow to him, other players, that players will take lesser salaries to play for Bayern, that coaches are lining up, and it's just not the case anymore. And uh from a purely like tier one coach, you saw Xavi didn't want it. Like it's not a great place to coach if you the only way to go down is in the in your domestic league is to go down. There's nowhere else you can't go up anymore. So it's kind of a rough position to be in. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like the thing you're talking about, like when they stole Nagelsmann from Leipzig and then fired Nagelsmann before a season ended, and then just everything went to shit. Like that is what you get. Like because I like Nagelsmann a lot. He was a very good manager, and they didn't give him enough time just because. And I think they
He didn't
still
want
won
to
the
come
league.
back. He didn't
Yeah,
want to come back. They offered
yeah.
him like, sorry, we'll come back. Like, come back and coach us, please. We need you. He said no. Like, you can't
It's a
ostracize people like
toxic
that.
environment. But
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
he they they still won the league that year, so they didn't pay the repercussions, I don't think. But now they're finally paying, and it's enjoyable to see. I really, it's yeah, like you said, when you can only go down, it's not. I mean, like I was saying, I think it's probably good for the fan base to be reminded. Like I can kind of relate with when Celtic lost their one title of the last 13 years. I'd started to take it for granted when we won 9 straight, like, oh, we won the Scottish Premier League again. This is nice. And then when we lost, it was like, Jesus, this is possible. Like, this is
Yeah.
awful. I never want to feel this again.
Reality check for sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
so
get
it
it.
made these last three incredibly sweet. And this, like, it's a sweetener almost. You don't ever want to lose, but when you do lose, like, you're reminded of that it does feel like shit when your club loses a title.
So I did 3 more small bites, and you can kind of chime in when you have anything. But Schalke, staying in Germany, Schalke's free fall has been a little bit lulzy to me, and
It's
kind
not
of
nice.
like I don't know how such a storied franchise can be where they are and not immediately come back up. I don't know what's
Not
going
good.
on. I haven't done the
You should look
research.
into it. It's bad.
We can do a segment on it, but like I'm shocking to see where they are. It's shocking to me to see where they are. And then PSG's experiment is over. Um, when they were the original city, right? They were paying inordinate amounts of money for players, and with no regard for their league or financial fair play. And then they did it again with Neymar, Mbappe, and Messi. And now Mbappe's left, and now they basically are back to ground zero. So I thought that was kind of interesting. All of that money spent, no Champions League success really. Yeah, you won the Liga, but you were always gonna win it anyways. So like I don't know. Like they've probably spent twice as much money as City. Maybe I
Probably.
don't have the figures, but it sounds like for all that they've done, and you include wages, and for them not to have the success that head honcho wanted. I don't know. I think it's kind of also funny in a kind of morbid way. But anything on those two?
Yeah, PSG. It'll be that is another league where they're suffering from. Your league is never great when people are starting. The position they're starting to like is most interesting is who finishes second through fourth or third. Like it's never good for your league. I'm hopeful that maybe they get a little bit of a reset and things are more competitive next year for that league. Because when you watch the French league, there actually is pretty good. Like there are good matches. Like I watch it because I have BN Sports, and their matches it's usually like finish latest on Saturdays, and I don't have much else to watch, so I'll turn on like Monaco or I think this year Brest. I don't know if I'm saying that right because French words are pronounced weird, but they've
I don't know.
qualified for
Asking
Champions
the
League
wrong
for the
guy.
first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've qualified for Champions League for the first time in their history, which is a good story. Um, but yeah, just you hope that Mbappe leaving maybe brings more parity to Liga. I mean, I remember when Lille won a few years ago, it was incredibly exciting. So you do want to see like breaking up the monotony. I think that's a trend that we're kind of hitting on over and over again.
Yeah. The squad that's left behind is solid, but I have to imagine that they'll make a big signing to replace Mbappe. That's just kind of how they operate. So who's the talisman who's going to be like handed the keys there is also interesting. And then the last thing, because I didn't really find Serie A that interesting.
It was pretty good.
Inter wins. They, after 10 years of being on the outs, they're kind of making a return, and they've won 2 in the last 3 years, I think.
That's correct, I believe, yeah.
So, yeah, and then they're bringing back 5 at the back, Italian-style football, the 3 midfielders. It's just like very typically Italian, and I enjoy seeing that difference in style, where instead of everyone's playing 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, seeing interplay a classical Italian style was nice to me. And I like the players. Mickey, of course, from Arsenal, the Turkish Ozil as well, Kalinoglu, however you pronounce it. So yeah, Barea, I like Barea a lot too. Chalinoglu, that's how you say it. And then
Lautaro is one of my favorite players in the entire world, pretty much. So
yeah, I think he might have a shot for our list that's going to come up. Yeah,
he will be. Yeah, probably. Thuram actually was better than Lukaku as a partner, which I think has to hurt Romelu a little bit. I just think Inzaghi is a really, really good manager. I was really, as much as I love Atletico, I knew Atletico were not going to go on to win Champions League. So when Inter fucked that up and lost to them, I was actually really disappointed, which felt gross. I hated that because then I saw Simeone like crying after they won. And I was like, why was I doing this? Like, I love this man so much and he's so happy, but I hated that. I think something we'll hit on in NBA is I've realized as time has gone on, I hate when two things I really like collide. I don't. Yes. I've always thought that it would be a win-win where you can't be sad, but you end up just being the possibility of being sad is doubled basically, and being sports sadness trumps sports happiness any day of the week. I've realized. I always thought you just were safeguarded from sadness.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
If Arsenal win, I'm happy for like an hour, and then if Arsenal lose, it ruins my day, even sometimes my weekend. So that's very astute.
Very good point.
Very astute. Yeah.
But like, that I'm getting a little off topic, but yeah, that like Inter really were very fun for me to watch this year. They won in dominant fashion. I think Milan and Juventus were very disappointing. I think another story from Serie A that was cool was Bologna qualifying for Champions League for the first time in their history. I think they may have qualified a while ago, but I saw the scenes of their celebrations today, and it looked like they won the league. They were so happy. So it's always good when you get that situation, and I think we're going to see more of it since Champions League is expanding a little bit.
Yeah.
So you'll see a little more of these sides breaking through in the big celebrations, because it does change your club's future when you qualify for Champions League.
I'm looking at the table now, and Bologna is 25 points below Inter at first. So the gap between first and third is 25. I think.
Are they third? League... Bologna finished third? Oh, yeah, because they beat Juventus, and Juventus dropped down to fourth.
They're both Juventus and Bologna are on 68 points, but I don't know what happened
which
there.
Is slightly disappointing.
Maybe it's probably goal differential. Yeah, goal differential of 3. So, yeah. All right. Speaking of Inter, I saw they played Roma recently, and I saw Lukaku was on Roma.
Yep.
Do you know how many teams that guy has been on? Can I read them out to you?
9.
That's very close. Very good, actually. Anderlecht, Chelsea, West Brom, Everton. Then he was sold to Everton, Manchester United, Inter Milan, Chelsea, then back on loan to Inter Milan, then back to Roma on loan from Chelsea. So, like, I think it is exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11 teams, and 2 teams were repeated. Everton was repeated twice, and 8 actually. Chelsea, Everton, and Inter. Two rounds each. It's crazy, dude. He's just all over the world, but no one wants him.
I really like him, but he really fucked up when he left Inter. He burned bridges because they really liked him, and the way he left really rubbed people the wrong way. He could never go back, so he had to settle for Roma. I watch a lot of Roma because Osmoon is on their team and Lukaku plays in front of him, and Lukaku scores more, but I kind of feel like Osmoon at this point does a lot more link-up play. He's a more complete offensive talent. So I'm biased, of course, but
Lukaku is a relic from a bygone era. He was a poacher who's not good at really poaching anything.
Sort of.
He had two. Like, I see his best seasons. He had like around 20 goals per season, which I guess is good. Could go all competitions, but yeah, he's more remembered for his misses more than anything.
Yeah,
which is kind of sad.
Really good in the 1 year he won Serie A with Inter, and him and Lautaro had a really good partnership.
Mm-hmm.
But then he went back to Chelsea, and everything went to shit. I feel like
that's what happens with players. They go to Chelsea and they disintegrate.
But yeah, disappointing. I still kind of root for the guy, but I'm not as much of a big fan. Yeah, I think he scored in their last match though, so he still like does his job.
32 matches, 13 goals. So yeah, and it's bad, just barely passable. So you had two more storylines really quick. Let's finish that up, and then we'll go to their top 10 list.
Just from like leagues that people don't often talk about. We'll start with Sturm Graz ending Red Bull Salzburg's 10-year run of Austrian Bundesliga titles. People were pretty excited about this. It came down to the last match day, and Sturm Graz comfortably won 2-0 to secure that. So that's good. I mean, people hate Red Bull Salzburg just because of the corporatization. So that'll be nice in Champions League next year. And then PAOK Thessaloniki got their first title in 5 years, and I think the Greek league.
I only know them from FIFA.
Yeah,
I've never seen them on FIFA.
The Greek title, like people were very excited about the Premier League title run-in. The Greek one was probably the most heated in all of Europe. It came down to the last match day. There were 4 teams in it heading into the second to last week, and then PAOK and AEK Athens kind of separated. And PAOK, they had to win their final match. I think they drew, and they I can't remember the exact permutations. I just remember it came down to they were playing their rival Aris, and if Aris had a wide open header to put themselves ahead. Actually, no. Okay, so PAOK had to win. Aris had a header to tie the match up, which would have given AEK Athens the title. Okay. And my boy Karim Ansari Fard, an Iranian striker who's played in Greece for a very long time, missed the sitter header, and he actually used to play for AEK Athens, so he would have been handing the title back to his former club, and he fucked up very badly, and PAOK won. And then there was like big drama at the end of the match because they won the title at their rival's ground, and people were not happy about this.
Dangerous. That's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, so it was pretty bad, but good for peace and love to Karim. Really like him, but it was pretty funny. I was reading translating a lot of Twitter comments in Greek just to see how people were reacting.
All right, we discussed the important storylines of European soccer, so now we're moving to our top 10 list of top 10 soccer players in European soccer, culminating in a top 3 Ballon d'Or votes. That's kind of about who me and Steve think are going to be on the ballot for Ballon d'Or next year. So I can shout out some. I basically went through all the top teams and I looked at who are the standouts for those teams. I can yell them out. If you have any others at the end, tell me, and then we can go into our top 10 list. Okay. So from Real, I got Bellingham and Vinny.
Rudiger.
I don't know why. It's not in any order. Let me be clear about this. It's not in any order.
Okay? Okay.
Okay, so I think Cole Palmer deserves a shout.
Well, for Real Madrid, I'd put Rudiger in there too. 17 clean sheets is pretty immense, and depending on what happens at Euros, it could easily boost him.
True.
Yeah.
So, okay, no problem. I have no problem adding him. Cole Palmer, for PSG, just Mbappe. For Arsenal, Rice, Odegaard, Saliba. For
Saka also. When you look at Saka as a wing player, he was pretty elite compared to the rest of Europe.
His stats were elite, but I was the reason why I didn't put him on is because one, I feel like having 4 players in the top 10 from a second place team is a little bit off skew, and I think that.
Yeah, I got you. I have him on my top 10. I don't have Saliba, but Saliba, I understand, is one of our best players. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's a melding what we think will happen. What I truly believe is the case. Saka for me in the second half, I think he was playing with a consistent knock, and a lot of his explosiveness was not there. His open goal scoring was not there. It was propped up by penalties, in my opinion. So I think for our year this year, the success came from Saliba and Gabriel, but Gabriel will never get the plaudits. And then Rice and Odegaard.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it later. But then I think the only team that kind of there's 2 teams that I have 4 players for. One is Man City and one is Leverkusen.
Oh,
and
wow.
one of them is a homer pick, as you probably know. But Rodri, Haaland, Foden, KDB. And I know KDB's been out, but I'm just putting there out of respect.
I didn't have him there for that reason, but I do have Rodri and Foden. Foden is very high on my list.
Yeah. For Liverpool, just Van Dijk and McAllister. I think McAllister kind of pooped out at the end, but him playing out of position was a big key to their success. And so just 2 from them. From Bayern, Harry Kane, Jamal. From Leverkusen, Grimaldo, Xhaka, Havertz, and Boniface.
Boniface, yeah. I only had, because I did 10, or I did 12 actually. Mm-hmm. I tried to stick to the exercise, as you said.
Yeah. I'm giving you nominations. We'll pick our final 10 later.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I only had those 2.
Okay. Barca, I would say they probably have, just out of respect, I'm going to list 4, but only 2 make the cut. I would say Araujo early season, Yamal late, they're out because they didn't do the full season. I would say FDJ pre-injury, and I would say Gundogan for the entirety of the year. But that's kind of me. And then from Inter, the champions of Italy, I have Lautaro only.
That's fair.
Anyone else from missing from mid-table teams, other leagues? Yeah, shout them out.
I would out of this, I would pretty much only add Griezmann. Griezmann had a tremendous season for Atletico. If you want me to just run through who I had, because
that works.
I don't feel that Bayern or Barca really deserve anybody on the list, and that's me being a hater probably, but I don't know. But Harry Kane, I guess you probably should put on.
Harry Kane's probably the only one who was a shout, in my opinion. Yeah.
I had Griezmann, Odegaard, Rodri, Rudiger, Boniface, Saka, Lautaro, Mbappe, Verts, Foden, Bellingham, and Vinny. So that's pretty much my list. But
in order,
there's a lot of overlap. Yeah, in order, sort of. I started out of order, and then as I was doing it, I was like, maybe I'll just order these, sort of. But I can be swayed to move people around,
So let's just go through the order now. And so I think it'd be easiest actually in this case to go from our top 3 for the Ballon d'Or voting first. You generally go back to front. So who do you think's going to win the Ballon d'Or?
I think it's up in the air right now, and a lot of it's going to depend on Copa America or Euro. I think if England win Euro, and they're pretty sizable favorites to do it, but we know how shit goes, I think it's going to be Bellingham, because I assume he's going to win Champions League. He'll have La Liga, and he'll have Euro. Foden will be having a shout for sure, but I think the Champions League is going to push Bellingham over the edge. Plus, he's just kind of more marketable, which I feel like sometimes it comes down to. Yeah. I think if they don't win Euro and Brazil somehow win Copa America, because I don't know if that's a sure thing based on their recent form. Vinny is the star of that team, and I would assume Vinny will win Ballon d'Or.
I see what Vinny does, but I don't think he gets the international recognition that, like you said, Bellingham has. It might come down to marketability or something.
I think he's starting to. I was doing some looks at lists in preparation for this, and Vinny was pretty much number 1 on all of them.
What do you mean?
And he's number 1 in odds for Ballon d'Or right now, betting odds.
That's interesting to say. I looked at some lists too. I looked at like who scored and Opta, and those are based off score ratings,
Vinny's
right?
number one.
I didn't see Vinny on any of those lists.
Oh, really? Truthfully. I saw when you look at match score, Vinny was number one on a lot of these lists.
Interesting.
Also, he's just statistically, he's had a pretty crazy season, and I feel like when you listen to commentators talk now during Real Madrid games, whether it's La Liga or Champions League, it's pretty much always just like, Vinicius is such a tremendous player. He can dominate the entire game, and he really does. Like, I really like Vinny. I've liked him for a long time. I hated that whole nonsense racism scandal with Atletico Ultras. It was nasty. And I'm glad. Like, I root for the guy, which I shouldn't do, but I just like the way he plays. I think he's a tremendous footballer.
I don't disagree with you there, but I actually see him in the complete opposite. I think his moments of brilliance, individual moments of brilliance, are what makes him so electric and amazing to watch. I feel like he exists on the top of a Real Madrid engine that does all of the work for him. In terms of like midfield that always dominates and will always get service and stuff. His Cruz playing on the left side behind him, which is through balls for days. So when I see Vinny Jr., I am amazed at like his individual moments of brilliance. But the reason why I didn't like strike me as odd that he wasn't in these top 10 or 15 lists that I was looking at was because those lists really favor consistent, like good play, like take-ons and passes and being involved in the game in a much more holistic way. And so that's why it didn't really strike me as odd. So I'm going to go back and check and see like where I miss Vinny on these lists, because I did have him, but I wouldn't put him in the top 3, which is interesting to me. So you let's just go with your top 3, and then we'll go with my top 3. So who do you have it? Just say it out loud.
Number
all
one,
factors
Vinny.
And very okay. Number 1, Vinny. Okay.
2, Bellingham. 3, Foden.
Okay, that's fair. I would probably put Bellingham 1. I would put Foden 2, and I think that either I think just by force of name, Mbappe gets 3. And it's not what I truly believe, but I just think because of the machine, and it is like he's been dubbed the next big guy. I think he'll be on the list. It should be, in my opinion, it should be Rodri, but that's just me.
It's gonna be Vinny, I'm telling you. Like, I'm pretty much guaranteeing it, because I've did a good amount of reading. I don't know what lists you were looking at, because he's number 1 on pretty much every list I looked at. Which surprised me, because I kind of do agree with you, like what you said about him being the head of the machine, but I think he just I've noticed a shift in the way people talk about him. And you look at like best footballers in the world lists, he does seem to be in the top 3 of most of the lists, number 1 in a lot of them too. If Mbappe leads France to Euro, which I kind of feel like is going to happen, I do think he'll win the actual Ballon d'Or. And then I think Foden or Bellingham would get left off the final 3.
I don't think you can. I mean, it could be too early for Foden, but he's just a great player.
He's tremendous.
He's a great player. And so, okay, in some order, we have our top 4. So even if I didn't have Vinny in the top 3, he's 4. If you didn't have Mbappe, he's 4 for you. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I would have like Verts behind, actually, not Rodri. But Rodri's tremendous too.
Okay, yeah. So then
I think he plays a glamour position.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm kind of melding what I think, because I love CDMs. I think they're so crucial to how teams play.
Yeah, I mean, everybody does, but when was the last time one
They don't. And when he should have won last year, they didn't give it to him. KDB was out for a large portion of that year, I think, too. I think KDB was out last year as well, or one of the years that they won. And it was basically because of Rodri. He didn't get any, and he made a comment like, my position doesn't get the plaudits it should, and it's fair. So I can see completely it being Mbappe, and then what you said, Verts, for leading in Leverkusen to never losing type situation, being the face. I think he had like 20 plus goal plus assists contributions.
19 goals, 21 assists. Yeah,
that's incredible.
In all competitions, yeah,
that's incredible. Yeah. And then if I can be a little bit of a homer, I would actually put Rice next.
Another
Rice
situation.
Rice or Odegaard. Who look out of the list? I don't really see anyone else. I mean, I guess Harry Kane technically because of his
He'll probably
scoring goals,
get
but
a
he didn't.
shout.
We didn't win anything. I mean, neither did we. But I guess
I'd probably have Lautaro pretty high up there. If Argentina win Copa America, I don't think he'd win the
it's good
entire
look.
award,
It's good look.
but yeah, he could get invited. He's had a really good season. 28 goals, 8 assists. That's pretty great. He's the face of that Inter team. But I think we kind of nailed it with the top 4 situation. Granted, none of these players have a total disaster with their national team over the summer, because I do think it's pretty tight this year, and that's going to contribute pretty heavily.
You're right. I think that's a wise statement. So, let me just finish my bottom 5, and then you can go afterwards. So, I think we had our first 4. I finished 5 with Rodri. I'd put 6 Kane, probably 7 Rice, but that's quite a homer pick. I would put 8 Boniface and Grimaldo were both very high on every one of those lists I looked at. They play like complete games. So I think one of them deserves it. Xhaka was a homer pick, but he's not like as essential to how we played as he is to them. But I think his leadership and his moxie and his kind of like stand up tall spirit is kind of what helped them through a lot of those games. Then I would probably put Lautaro. So to be clear, it was Rodri, Kane, one of the Arsenal guys, probably Rice, Lautaro, and then I would probably finish with Jamal or Odegaard. You can take your pick there. I think Jamal had more goals and assists, but Odegaard ran the team in a way that Jamal isn't able to do yet. So what about you?
Yeah. So with 5, are we starting with 6 then?
Yeah. I mean, I gave 5. I gave 5 as Rodri, so you owe me a 5.
5. Well, I had Mbappe at 4, Wirtz at 5.
Okay.
Then I'd have 6 as Lautaro. 7 I'd probably have as Boniface. 8 I guess I'd go with Rodri. 9 Odegaard, and 10 let's go with Rudiger.
You have to put Kane, man. He has like
I'm not gonna put Kane.
40 goals in 30 games.
I just can't do it. I don't find it to be impactful.
So then who's number 10?
Rudiger. I'll go with Rudiger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just because I like him much more than I like Harry Kane.
Yeah.
It's a homer pick. Even though it's not really a homer pick. Yeah. I like Rudiger though.
Yeah, it's fine. Okay.
And I'm willing to admit Kane will get more credit than he probably deserves.
For sure, Rudiger. That's why I'm laughing. But yeah. Okay. So that concludes our top 10 lists. Breakout player of the year for you? Young or a veteran getting his groove back? Who was it? I think you already mentioned him, but go ahead.
Who, Wirtz?
Yeah.
I would say Cole Palmer or Wirtz.
Yeah. I think Cole Palmer. I didn't expect Cole Palmer to be this good, and he did it in a dysfunctional Chelsea team that was struggling all year. Got to give him credit. It's like 19 goals, 13 assists or something. Yeah, crazy.
Third, I would say Kobe Mino maybe, but he kind of came late this season. He was like the one bright spot for Manchester United, though.
Yeah, I think honestly Saliba has a shout. He played every minute in the Premier League.
I already thought he was great though, so it's I don't
but
have that.
Now everyone knows he's great. Yeah. Now, like there was still even last year there was still some like he hasn't been really challenged. He was challenged. Yeah. He pocketed Haaland, and he played every Premier League minute. He's probably a top 5, top 3 center back in the world right now for sure. So,
yeah.
Okay. I think that's it for soccer. We got our important storylines. We got our top 10 lists. We got our top 3 for Ballon d'Or, and we got our breakout players. Yeah. So I think that kind of wraps up soccer. You and I watched Usyk versus Fury on Saturday. It was a very good fight, very tense, edge of your seat type stuff. I'll kind of let you have the floor because you want to talk about it. What do you have to say?
I didn't think Usyk really was going to have a chance heading into it. I mean, maybe that's a little strong, but Fury just is such a massive guy, and he really shows up for these serious, important fights. I think what I underestimated was how much better of an actual boxer Usyk is. Not that Tyson is a bad boxer, but I think Usyk is an all-time great. His movement and his pressure forward on Fury, I think, really wore Fury out. He landed, because from rounds 3 to 7, it looked like Tyson was going to boss the fight, but I think he expended a lot of energy. Then he got his nose broken, I want to say, in the 8th. That kind of felt like it turned the whole fight, because you could tell Fury was starting to slow, and I mean, when you have a broken nose, you're going to slow even more. And then in the 9th, I thought what Usyk did was learn Tyson's pattern and learn how to time a perfect counter when he was throwing those jabs out. Because you look at it, Tyson's mid combo when he lands the punch that it's going to be looked back at as probably one of the most consequential punches in heavyweight boxing history, because it totally flipped the fight. Tyson, realistically, that fight should have been stopped. He basically got knocked out. I've watched it numerous times. The referee fucked that up really badly. Either you call the knockdown the first time his shoulder dips below the ropes and the ropes keep him up, so that Usyk then has a chance to pounce on him and finish it after you give him a 10 count, or when he gets knocked down into the ropes essentially a second time. That should have probably been the fight. 14 unanswered punches in a barrage that really is going to live down in history. That face that Fury had against the ropes is going to be remembered for the rest of time. I was really happy for Usyk. I think he's a much more likable human being than Tyson Fury. I think we've glossed over a lot of Tyson's more nefarious character flaws for the sake of marketing.
And his families.
Yeah, sure. John Fury. Paris, his wife, seems like an okay lady, so I don't want to get into that too much. But the good guy won, and I feel like that often doesn't really happen in boxing, and it's kind of depressing. So I was pretty happy about that. It was tremendous. I wish there wasn't a rematch clause, because I know that if Tyson had won, even though there was one, I know he would have probably said, "I'm retiring. I don't need to prove anything anymore." And I just would have been like, "Man, fuck you." So I wish Usyk would try to pull some shenanigans, but the payday's too good. So we'll probably see part 2 in October. And yeah, hopefully Usyk beats him even more decisively.
Two things. Well, for Usyk, he looks the part. He was a pro. You could just tell the way he was throwing punches. He was a true boxer's boxer. And first 3 rounds, it was looking good for us. The next 4, like you said, I felt like it was going to be like other Tyson fights. He kind of dicks around and then he just pulls it together and then knocks the guy out or wins. And so seeing that and then seeing the turnaround in the last 3 or 4 rounds was really hype in real time. And a lot of these times, these big fights don't lead up to it. And I was really excited. I circled this on the calendar and I asked you to watch it because I was excited to see what Usyk could do to Fury. Every time I see Fury, I think he's 1 minus. There's one fight I can't remember that he lost, but
he's never lost before. But he drew Wilder in that fight where Wilder basically knocked him out, and he got very lucky that the referee kind of slow counted.
It was Wilder, yeah. Okay, yeah. So
then he came back and beat the shit out of Wilder 2 more times. So.
Yeah, seeing a 6'9" man and a 6'5" man, though that size, it's like the pinnacle of boxing for me. I really enjoyed it, and for Usyk, I'm glad that, like you said, it's like the good guy never wins, and it could have been, we were talking about it, some malarkey there at the end, and it seemed like there were one score seemed a little bit off. I feel like you would agree, right?
Yeah, there's no way Tyson Fury won that fight.
Yeah, so
the split decision was bullshit.
Yeah, split decision was bullshit. But it was a good fight, and I enjoyed watching it, and it was a good outcome, which doesn't really happen all the time. Far-reaching, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, we always got to get into that. You want to say far-reaching?
Yeah, effects of the fight. Yeah.
I think Usyk is probably the best boxer over 200 pounds since Holyfield.
Wow.
It's pretty unbelievable to be undisputed in cruiserweight, then move up in weight and become undisputed in heavyweight. You don't really see it happen. I think, Holyfield was the last one. This is in the 4-belt era, so there's one more belt to achieve. Usyk, it's unbelievable. He's an all-time great. He vaults up to probably number 1 on pound for pound lists currently. It's a good era for all-time greats because I think we're witnessing 3 with Usyk, Crawford, and Inoue. But yeah, I think right now Usyk has to be considered pound for pound the number 1 boxer in the world. The list of accomplishments is immense, and yeah, just a likable guy. I was happy for him.
Yeah, a pro. Look laser focused, like completely there for the job at hand, not there for the antics.
He's a funny guy too, though.
Like you didn't see anything like Tyson soaking it up. Like I know that's his personality, but then you see him compared to the complete opposite. Usyk was just like laser focused. It was great. It was quite the stark difference. Yeah. You said something about Usyk that I wanted to touch on. Kind of lost my brain. Oh, okay. Anything else on this fight? I mean, Usyk Fury will be one of the like highlights of this year. Any other on the calendar that we can look forward to? Is it going to be that next one in October? That's the next big one to look forward to.
That's like the next.
Is Joshua going to fight? Oh, yeah, good.
Yeah, Joshua. I guess his next fight, it won't be as consequential because it's going to be Usyk Fury holding up the division a bit. I think Tank Davis's fight with Frank Martin will be talked about, but I don't think people really give Frank Martin much of a chance. One factor in this fight the next fight that's gonna be stupid as hell is the IBF is going to strip Usyk within 2 weeks because the mandatory Ergovich is been waiting around for a while, so we're gonna get an IBF title fight in the next one between Usyk and Fury will be for like 3 belts, not 4. And that's just like the idiocy of boxing, but it is what it is.
Okay. Anything else on the fight? Great fight.
Nope. Yeah, great fight.
Hugely entertaining. Okay, let's move on.
Good. Great as always.
It
was good, man. It was good. It was great to see.
I saw some pictures. They were very funny. Very funny.
Yeah. Good to see Aram get married. Obviously, all of the high school friends gathered just to hang out. Again, mostly in Albuquerque, just kind of posted up at this one hotel. And Aram's family is quite large. And his, now wife's family is quite small. So it was like pretty large Aram family presence, and kind of seeing the bringing in of the smaller family was really nice. It was really great. There were kind of like some, like the overall vibe of the wedding was nice because even though 99% of it, the weather was good, I guess it's a characteristic of Albuquerque to have like kind of crazy weather for like very short stints of time. And so there was like 5 minutes where like the wind was blowing like crazy and like started to like rain like crazy, and like some stanchions were like falling down. But like the vibes of the wedding were so good that, like Aram didn't really care. He was kind of just lolling, and so was his wife, you know what I mean? And, things got sorted out real quickly. So no, it was really, really good.
Have you
I heard the vibes were immaculate.
The vibes were immaculate. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, like I took a later flight yesterday at like 7, thinking that, having a full day to kind of just like hang out and recover would be nice. But, you're kind of just midway through the day yesterday, just hanging out in Albuquerque, just like, I need to get the fuck home, dude. I need to get the fuck home. You know what I mean?
Get any Sonic or Whataburger?
No.
They have Whataburger there. No, damn.
No.
Whataburger would have been chill to try. I feel like I learned this at Arjun's wedding, is that it's no fun to be there after everyone, like the days after. You stay the week after, I know, Brian, but like if everyone is leaving, like say it's a weekend wedding, you want to leave on Sunday night or Monday. I don't think saying like Tuesday or Wednesday, it kind of gets slow, and all your entire existence is just saying bye to people, which is, I don't know, not that fun for me personally.
It does have a last man standing feel.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I try to get out ASAP, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I took a flight with Andrew, and our flight was at 7, but Arjun wanted to leave, and his flight was at like 6 or something, like at 5:30. And he just took an Uber at like 4, and me and Andrew were just like, I'm just gonna go with them. Let's just go with them. Social battery depleted, dude. Because exactly what you said. Like all it ends up being is like you're just saying bye to every single last person. Some people's names you don't even fucking remember. Saying hi, just say it out, bye, and it's like I just gotta get the fuck out of here, man. Like, I'm pretty tired.
Yeah, I feel it. So while you were gone, Brian, we saw the end of a couple of series.
Yeah.
So instead of doing a whole thing like we normally do, playoff roundtable, we're just going to talk really quickly about what happened and the key points. So Denver, OKC go out, Knicks lose, Cavs are already out, and so your final four is Boston, Indy, Mavs, Minnesota. I think most of the surprise comes from Indy on the East, and then Mavs and not so much Mavs, but Minnesota on the West. Maybe not as the playoff went on, but at the beginning, I don't think anyone had Minnesota going to the conference finals. So that was a great final game.
I don't know that I agree. I feel like people were saying the Wolves could do this, but I get what you're saying. The Pacers, to me, I agree with you. That one is.
I feel like the ramp up was so quick from the sweep until like winning the first two games versus Denver. It just became like this big, huge thing. Like, we're seeing Ant's coronation in a way. Yeah. I didn't feel like that was at the beginning, but I see your point too. So any talking points from the wrap up of those three series you want to go over? So Denver losing, OKC losing, and Knicks losing. Anything in particular you want to talk about?
For me, yeah, I'm happy for the Pacers. Again, I think.
Of course you are, you son of a bitch.
No. But what I was going to say is, I'm happy for the Pacers. Tyrese had a great last game of that. I mean, the Pacers in general, not just Tyrese. Whatever record-setting field goal percentage. Yeah. So, kind of living up to their reputation as this offensive powerhouse. And we were watching it on Sunday at a Rom's house, and I just got to say, like, I mostly feel bad for the Knicks. This is such a very Knicksy way to go out in the sense that, after the first two games of the series, you're talking of, speaking of Ant's coronation, obviously not to the same level, but, Brunson is, he's the next New York legend. And it was almost conversationally once they get to the conference finals. I mean, I was saying it. I'll go as far to even say I was saying it that like, has he already done more than like Melo, and like, is he on the sports shows you'd see like, is he the next or kind of the interim Bernard King? And I think that they were just so worn down. He breaks his hand, and for them to kind of go out in the second round just kind of aligns with whatever you want to call this Knicks experience, cursed or whatever. And, I'm hoping that they can recover. And, and they did have an overall good season because they were scrapping by with so many injuries, but I was hoping to see them go a little bit further.
Yeah, I think like in the moment it's going to hurt for the Knicks, but they did have a great season. I saw a thing on Twitter that was like, this is the Tibbs cycle. Like, team overachieves, fights really hard. Fans are very defensive of Tibbs. Next season, team is not the same because they're just beat down, and then fans turn. So I'm hoping that's not like the cycle that we're about to enter into. I really did think the Pacers could win this series. I think if you go back to our preview of round two, I didn't think they would. Like, I picked the Knicks, but I just think this Pacers team is a bitch to play. Like, they play so when they're not like bullshitting like they did in, I think that was game 5. That was a really bad look for them, but I think they're just a nightmare to play, especially when you're the Knicks and you only play like 7 guys, you're worn down, and the Pacers' whole modus, like MO, is just to run nonstop and tire you the fuck out. I think it's going to be an interesting matchup with the Celtics. Actually, I know people are kind of shitting on it, and the Celtics are like a minus 1,000 favorite to win that series. But
oh, really? So it's like a massive.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm picking the Pacers, but the Celtics should be careful because the first 2 games, no Porzingis. I mean, is Al Horford going to be able to keep up with that up and down pace? Maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of ourselves in our discussion, but I think the Pacers are a bitch to play. Like, wouldn't shock me if that series goes 6 or 7.
Team shoots 55% from 3, 67% from the field in the game. Yeah. It's very tough to beat them, especially an offensively challenged team like the Knicks. It's going to be very tough for them. I think I think we all had Knicks at the beginning. I changed halfway through because I just saw these injuries and the Tibbs effect. Like you nailed it perfectly, Sebastian. Like we look at Jimmy Butler at 34 and we think he's at 37 or 38 because of him playing for Tibbs. Luol Deng was literally destroyed by playing for Tibbs. Noah was destroyed by playing for Tibbs. Like all these players, and it's part of his charm and part of his style and stuff. But at a certain point, he needs to like manage the regular season better. It's something I complain about Mikel Arteta. Like you gotta know that players don't have this endless reserve of energy that can keep going, and at a certain point, the energy runs out and then they get hurt. So he can, if I was the GM of the Knicks, I would say to him, you can play your players as much as you want in the playoffs, but nobody in the regular season averages more than 36 minutes a game or 37 minutes a game. And see, like, because he needs to, there's a set amount of like physical exertion someone can do in a certain amount of time. And even if they're dogs or all teams players, like there needs to be a limit. And I think no one has ever told him that. That's why he was GM in Minnesota. No one had to tell him that. And then, like now he moved on and now he doesn't have that role. Someone needs to be that person and tell him.
It's funny you bring up the all Steves aspect because they had started to wear on me where I was like, this is like a bit ridiculous. You probably should calm down.
I should probably calm down.
I found the Knicks, this is going to be mean because I really did like them during the regular season. I think when the media spotlight got really large on them, I found them to be a bit insufferable, including their fan base.
That's classic.
It just Knicks. Was like, people were saying like this team's so New York, and it's like, how do you quantify something being so New York? Like
driving yourself into the ground,
driving yourself into the sewer, resilient. Like, fuck off! Like, I just got a little bit tired of it. The toxicity towards Halliburton, like fuck Tyrese Halliburton, and like chanting fuck Reggie. Like it was just a bit much. So I think like they got their comeuppance, and I hate to say it about the All Seebs Team of the Year, but I think they needed to dial down the Seebsiness.
All of their players that were out, they still went this far. They have a solid foundation, and I don't know their pick situation, but I feel like they can get rid of Randall if they really wanted to and convert that to someone else, or if they think he's not going to get hurt again and he can play within the confines of Tibbs' offense, because he did take them out of it sometimes, and it was now that it's officially Brunson's team. I don't know if he can do that anymore, but that's my thing with Knicks is one, Tibbs needs to manage the season better or be told to manage the season better. And two is what do they do with the players they have? Because with a stripped roster, they were still very effective. Now it gives them the freedom to like tinker a little bit and actually improve towards Brunson. Anything else on the Knicks, or we can move to the other three losers just really quickly? I think for this week, we can just go over the losers and then give a quick key to victory for the first game of the series. But so Knicks, we've gone through. I had 3 questions for Cavs. JB Bickerstaff is gone, correct?
I hope so.
Oh, he's not official yet?
I don't hope so, but I think it would be better for the team. Okay. I don't want to be mean.
So then the next question naturally is that trio of Jared Allen, Donovan Mitchell, Garland. I think they talked about it on Bill's pod on Sunday is who are they going to keep? Who are they going to trade? What do you think, Brian?
I think I saw a news story today, basically that there's a lot of interest in Jared Allen, and I forget the exact news, but something along the lines of that he's basically down to dip. So
Allen's gone. I think we kind of knew that.
Hope so.
But of
I hope he's
the PGs. One of them, who's your boy? Like, do we want Donovan?
Lakers, I'd be okay with it, but I wouldn't put a lot of hope that he's like our savior or something. Like, I think he'd, make us a better team and it'd be something to watch. But like, I mean, I've said it so many times throughout the season, Mr. Unreliable, right? And his season ended in perfect Mr. Unreliable fashion. Had a great first couple games of the Celtics season, and even some kind of generating some excitement for me that like, oh man, could they actually kind of test the Celtics? And then just this is the final games of the series, and it's like, okay, there you go, Mr. Unreliable. That's just how it goes. I personally, if I were the Cavs, I honestly would keep Garland. I think Mitchell is great, but I think he's a bit of a ball stopper. When he's great, he's really good, but when he's bad, he's really bad. I agree with Justin along this fact that it does seem like when Mitchell isn't playing, the team plays with a bit more enthusiasm. So I would keep Garland, but I don't think like the forecast for the Cavs, they'd have to make some pretty serious moves to actually kind of take them farther than where they've been in the past few years of just kind of like a first, second round team. So
I saw that Dan Gilbert said he would not trade Donovan Mitchell to the Lakers, so that's probably
all time levels of spite.
Why?
I think it was more so about us not having a package that really is appealing, which I understand.
That's fair. That's fair.
Fair. I would probably keep Garland and Mobley just because they're on the same timeline. If we're going off of what I think actually would make them more of a contender next year, I would do Mitchell and Mobley. But I think maybe you take a step back to take a step forward in the long term by building around Mobley and Garland. I do think Jared Allen needs to be gone like as soon as possible. Like I would help pack the bags for him just because I think the fit with him and Mobley is awful, and I'm a big Evan Mobley fan. So
So last question on the Cavs is Mobley good enough? I saw some more from Mobley than I thought I would see. But is he good enough offensively to be a 1 or 2 on a team?
Yes.
I think so. He showed it in the final game. Yeah. He showed it in the final. He shows the flashes, and I think we still forget he is still quite young. I see a path where he does start to put it together.
Same age as Ant.
But big man
Ant's a special case.
I'm going to use that.
Yeah, so I think it's just that there was so much expectation placed on his potential early that. And then, you have people like Wemby who kind of like are similar build or like kind of similar attraction of the tall defensive guy. Yeah, well, yeah, no, but you know what I mean? Like kind of like that the excitement of that type of build, like an agile, coordinated, really big guy, lengthy guy. And so I think people have kind of unfairly dismissed him a bit early, but I still think he has a lot to improve and give. As a
no
player,
USC bias coming from you guys?
Not really, man. No,
for me there is.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have for Cavs. Anything else on Cavs, or we can move on?
We should move
on.
Yeah.
Okay, OKC. So they have picks galore. Of course, they have the war chest. They have a Giddey problem they need to resolve. And let's start with that. Just start with Giddey. So do you see Giddey next year on the team, or is he traded?
I think he's traded. I don't know what you get for him though. He had such
exactly. It's like a marginal increase.
Performance. Yeah, like
so. Is there any value in keeping him?
He's really good. I don't think he fits well with their team. He seemed to be. I mean, he had a really bad situation that we all know about. I think it affected his mental game quite a lot. I like his game. I thought it was a bad season. I'll agree. I think you trade him though, and I think he has value around the league. I'd say he's a valuable piece for certain teams who need like a table setter. Needs to improve his shot, of course, but I think he's a valuable player.
So the only reason I said that is because them getting back more picks doesn't have very much value. It has to be a tangible player that you get from Giddey, right? So that kind of narrows it down in terms of actually improving them. And is it something that you attach a pick to Giddey to get an even better player, like a quality, like maybe fringe all-star or something, who out there is available that can actually help OKC? People always talk about a big guy for them. Like, who do you foresee helping OKC that they can parlay all these picks and Giddey into? Maybe someone else as well.
Jared Allen.
Yeah, wasn't that actually like kind of not like in serious trade discussions, but hasn't that always been floated around? Like,
it's like been like people have proposed it as like
that he would be a good fit. I mean, he would be a great fit.
It would be a great fit, but I thought it was more of like people apologizing for Presti not going for Gafford, and that he always knew that he wanted Jared Allen, so that's why he didn't go for Gafford or something along those lines. That's what I've been reading, and I thought that was like a little bit too much for me, but okay.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a reach. I think Presti needs to grow up a little bit. Like, I feel like he gives off smartest person in the room vibes sometimes, and it bit him in the ass very severely this year. He facilitated the trade of a guy who really basically helped knock them out.
Yeah.
So not a great look, but I just don't understand the obsession with hoarding picks. Like at a certain point, you got to do something with those.
SGA is not young
now
anymore. Yeah. SGA is going to be 26. He's
yeah,
not
SGA
young.
That's pretty young, man. That's pretty young.
He's closer to 30 than 20.
And he's a young, dynamic point guard. How well do those guys age into the 30s? So you're really talking about like 4 years here, Brian. And like
yeah. I agree. I think they've done the hoarding. They're right on track. They were the first seed this year. I think their playoff performance was
for first seed. Yeah.
Was, even though they kind of got eliminated earlier than you'd like. They're all such a young team. Even minus Shea or whatever. I think now that you've having a little bit of proof of concept. Now you start to kind of sell the farm on all these picks to like really beef up the team. So I wouldn't be. I mean, if they continue to hoard, I think that's a problem. But now I think here's the time where we can start to toss them around.
5 months younger than Tatum. Like he's pretty close in age.
Yeah,
to Tatum. So
he's deceptively old.
Yeah, we don't consider him as the same age because like he hasn't been to the playoffs because of the Thunder's master.
That's fair.
And you watched him in that series; he was fucking tremendous. Like, when he's not getting bailed out by like the calls that he got during the regular season, he actually is like a joy to watch. And he adjusted to like the way he was getting officiated in the playoffs. And I feel like watching him, I felt like he was like the new king of the mid range, and I was very impressed. So I feel like they have an obligation to go quick and build something,
He is efficient with his movement. That's what I like about him most. He doesn't have any extra dribbles or like dribbling for like no sake or not to go anywhere in circles. He goes to the spot he goes. He shoots it. If he doesn't need it, passes it. I like that about his game a lot. But you're right, Steve's like he's not young, and we have this conception that he's like a 23-year-old or something. Not. He's going to be 26 by the draft or around about the drafts, and he got to go. And I think Brian's take was very rational and probably what Presti was thinking, and that's why we're not going to talk about it. It's not what we like here, Brian. No rational takes, brother. Okay. Denver, this is a big one. So I think the first thing that comes from Denver is the Porter Jr. conversation. Do you think he's $40 million player? A lot of people have been saying, if there's one place you improve Denver, it's maybe breaking that up into two solid players or a different type of player who just doesn't shoot threes. What do you think, Sebastian? Wow, does Denver need to improve? That's the first point. They talked about it on Bill's pod too. It's like verbatim the same question. Do they need to improve or do they run it back?
After last night, it would probably be the first time I'd consider it. I'm not saying they should for sure do it. I'd have to see what the offers were. Because you look at 2 of the last 3 playoff series he's been in, he's been pretty poor. The Miami series last year, he had a pretty big game in the closeout game. Still was, I think, inefficient, but he had big rebounds and he played pretty good defense. He's made improvements. It's just they're not as big as you'd want. If he's not making his shots, it becomes like you see it. Christian Brown closes games.
You can't play him, exactly. Yeah.
It's such a difficult one because his skill set is so rare. I mean, that jumper when it's going, probably like the nicest jumper in the entire league, and it's unguardable because he's so tall. The release is so high. But yeah, like I said, you do kind of. It'd be the first time you'd mull it over, like at least have like a small discussion about it, because I think the Nuggets really lost because of their lack of depth. Like yesterday, it just all came to a head. They played Jokic 47 minutes. He was dead at the end of the game. Gordon played 42 or 44 minutes, had 4 points, 4 rebounds.
It's tough.
Jamal was very good, but he did get shut down like middle of the second half. He started strong and closed strong, but it was just a little too late at the end of the game. You can't have a game 7 where your 2 star players score 69 of your 90 points, though, ultimately. And I think the bench has to significantly improve. They're going to have to retain KCP because I think even though he hasn't been great offensively, he's so invaluable defensively for that team. It's difficult. It's the first time they've had some difficult questions in a long time. They're an interesting offseason team to me.
How much? Sorry, Brian. One question really quickly. Then I'll pass it off to you. How much does Bruce Brown help all this series?
How much they likely could have.
I think a lot.
You think he would have swung it, in your opinion?
I think he could have, yeah.
I think so.
Wow. So they're really just one player away, is what you're saying?
Well, yeah, one or two players. I think it would be nice to have. They had Hartenstein in the building. It would have been nice to have a Hartenstein.
Oh man.
To back up Jokic. He wasn't nearly as good when he was in Denver. Like I remember being very surprised when he broke out with the Clippers. But just yeah, I mean the margins are so slim when you get to this stage, and yeah, they needed one more bench player probably, I would say.
So Brian, when you see their roster, do you have anything you want to say before I ask the question?
I was just going to say that in addition to what Sebastian was saying about the depth, it also feels that any changes you might make are almost in response to what was just pretty much what I see as like a nightmare matchup for them. Like they seem to be overrunning every other team for the past 2 years, basically. But it was just that the Wolves have such great size to counter, Denver's size, to be honest. Pause. But so yeah, I don't know how many changes they have to make. I'm kind of the similar mind. Like it's the first time I consider it, given how poorly like MPJ played and stuff like that. But for the most part, they had just been killing teams for the last 2 years. And like last year, the Wolves were the only team that pushed them to 6 when the Nuggets seemed to be ultra elite. So if you foresee that being something that you need to overcome, which I do think it is, that's where the changes are. But overall, like I wouldn't be freaking out or trying to sell the farm or anything like that.
Yeah.
No, that's a great point, Brian. It's this team, Minnesota, was created by the architect of the guy who plucked Jokic out, and it's like no one's talking about it, but he literally made the scouting report for the entire Denver team for every single player. Then he goes and becomes the GM of Minnesota, and he builds a team to beat them. Like he had the keys the entire time. And to your point, Brian, I do think this is unique to Minnesota. I think that they probably would have beat Dallas. They probably would have beat OKC. They probably would have beat. They beat us. It goes without saying. But who's the other team? Basically. Phoenix, if you want to put Phoenix in there. They would have beat any other team besides Minnesota. And Minnesota really grew up the series too. Like this Minnesota is a much better team than the Minnesota from last year for sure. And so there is some value in just standing pat and saying we can roll the dice 4 more times. We might not see Minnesota for 2 of those years and those are our years. Or do you uniquely try to fix your roster and overreact? And for overreacting, do you overact just to Minnesota or do you overact to the season as a whole? So you're first seed and things are easier and your players are more rested. Like which way do you go? Because I think like for Minnesota, you definitely want to get a backup big man. Whereas if you're talking about a season's worth, maybe you probably also want to back up big man, but you also want to probably get an upgrade on MPG as a wing scorer or something like that. It's kind of two different. Seems.
I think a lot of this boils down to I didn't like their approach in the offseason. I thought Calvin Booth was very arrogant and kind of full of shit, if you want to be real. He had this whole thing in a profile about like if we take a step back this year, but it's to develop youth, that's fine. Like if we don't win it all, because the goal is to win 3 and 4 or 5 years. And I just was like, that's like not the right approach. Like you kind of have to go in when every year is your window, basically. Like you should never like look at, I'm going to go build for the next year, It annoyed me.
It's a Spursian long view. They feel like they have the modern Spurs, but
it doesn't work for them because you have 2 players who have pretty big health question marks with Jamal and MPJ. And
true.
I think he needed to add depth because you could tell the Nuggets were just worn out. Like they really, I don't even think, like you said, they beat us. They look pretty bad when they beat us, if you want me to be real.
It was much closer than last year. We could have won 2 games. Yeah.
It didn't look
we were up
like
by 20.
The machine, yeah.
Damn it. You're up by 20. Damn it.
It doesn't look like a machine from last year. So whatever you have to do to ensure you're not as beat up when you get to this point of the season, because you look at the minutes played, every single player in the starting lineup played more minutes this year than they did last year in the regular season. It's just not really sustainable.
Are they just last thing on the NBA? Are they over the cap? Do you know their cap situation?
Yeah, they're going to be a second apron team with KCP probably.
Oh, okay. Then I think if that's the case and you're second apron team and you have like next to no flexibility, I think MPJ has to go.
It's the big question mark. Yeah, you're right. I'm not sure it's a certainty, but it definitely does need to be considered for the first time.
Yeah. Okay, really quickly, last thing on NBA, we have 2 game ones coming up Tuesday, Wednesday. Give me one key to the series for the Boston Indy series, and then I'll give it to Sebastian for Mavs Minnesota, who Halliburton well, Boston well. Brian, give me the one key to the series. How does Indy win this?
For Indy to win, I think, they have to be firing on all cylinders. They have to take advantage of, Porzingis being. I think that's really key. Porzingis being out for those first couple of games, you really want to see if Turner can, basically run Horford down, and because he's just going to be the guy that's going to have to defend against scoring in the inside. And then it's kind of interesting. Both of those teams are, as most NBA teams are these days, but those teams in particular are very like hot, cold 3-point teams. So Pacers have to be really on top of making sure that they're hitting their open threes to win. Boston, in order to win, I just think they need to be the team that they're supposed to be. Like I think
that's the one for me.
I've been pretty disappointed. Like even though they've been winning their series in 5 games, the games don't seem very convincing. It always seems almost like they're kind of stumbling their way to some of these wins. So if they're the team that they're supposed to be, I think that's how they win.
Fair enough. Steve's Mavs Minnesota. What's the key to the series?
Who guards Luka for Minnesota? That's what I think is ultimately the most interesting part of the series. I think McDaniels is
probably Jaden
naturally, but he's too small. Like he's long as fuck, but the weight is not there. He's light in the ass. I'm curious if Ant's going to end up being the Luka matchup, but that's going to drain. Ant's going to drain. It's going to drain Ant on the offensive end, though. I think. So to me, that's the big matchup nightmare. I think Minnesota will win the series, but if they don't, it's because of that. And I'm expecting this to have like some games that are like 90 to 85. Like these are 2 great defensive teams. It could be a rock fight, as they like to say.
So for Ant, I think on his legendary track, I think he will have to guard Luka for long periods of the game. I feel like even if he doesn't do that well offensively, I feel like at 22, LeBron was guarding the best player on the opposing team and being the offensive fulcrum. Kobe was doing something similar. I think that's what you were like. You can at 28 or at 35 for KD, you can let them have the defense off. But when you're at 22 in the prime of your athletic career, I think you got to do both. And I'll be so hyped to see it if it does happen.
I kind of want to see them try Naz Reid on Luka. I feel like that'd be an interesting situation.
Interesting. That is
the
interesting.
only thing is he might be a little bit,
He's a little big. Yeah, he's a little slow.
He's a little big, a little bit slow, but Luka's not like the quickest player in the world, and Naz did excellent against Jokic.
Yeah, but Brian's yelling at us on mute. But
you're muted, bro.
I was saying on initial reaction, I was like, really? I don't think that's going to work. But then I thought about it a little more. I was like, that could be pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah.
They're not the same size.
So,
we'll see. Who wins?
I mean, Luka's a nightmare. I'm not saying it's going to be easy regardless.
But he's a hobbled nightmare.
I feel like he seems to be a little less hobbled recently.
Seems to be pretty okay now, honestly.
It's only a problem when he shoots poorly, right? That's what Steve said.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Who wins? I didn't say it like that, but okay.
Who wins game 1 really quickly? Brian, you first.
For Pacers or both? Just both.
Just really quickly.
I'm going Celtics game 1 for the Celtics and Pacers. I'm going Mavs for Wolves. Mavs. Okay. My heart tells me like my mind tells me the Wolves win the series, but my heart says the Mavs, and I think they'll take it. I think they'll take a first game.
Nice guy. Steve, back to you.
Game 1, I'm gonna go Pacers because I think the Celtics just I don't know. Maybe I just have a very low opinion of how seriously they take things, but I feel like they're just gonna lose Game 1 in stupid fashion because they're not good at home. Game Wolves, Mavs. I'll go Wolves Game 1. I think Jason Kidd usually does good adjustments after Game 1.
I mirror your Minnesota wins Game 1. They have home court, correct?
Yeah.
And so I expect that. For Boston, Indy, I think Boston actually plays well, but Indy has a game where they just shoot 60 or 70%, 50% from 3, and it's what kicks the Celtics in the ass to up their game one more level, and then they'll probably win 3 out of the next 4.
Well, Indy hasn't lost at home yet, though, in the playoffs. So
we'll see. I think Indy does win Game 1 just out of a great shooting effort. But that's basically what happens here. Okay. Anything else on NBA Playoff Roundtable? Or we'll go to Bool or Bust top 5. Good. All right. Bool or Bust top 5 was mine this week. Song of the week was Brian. Yeah. Okay. Bool or Bust. Who wants to go first?
I can go. I have some pretty simple ones. Mine was just the wedding, the multicultural wedding, Iranian wedding. No, it's just like Aram's family is just like very fun. It's like it made the ceremony feel very kind of authentic. I think it would be a good way to say it. That it didn't seem like people were taking things too seriously. Kind of everybody's kind of like cheering and clapping. Kind of at funny moments of the wedding. So that was my Bool, and then my bust was just fucking Phoenix, Arizona, dude. Because just like both my time going there and going back was layover in Phoenix, and then I just realized like I haven't been to Phoenix in a long ass time, and it was just hot as hell in the airport for whatever reason. And I remembered why I have not gone to Phoenix in a long time. even just to hang out. I don't even remember the last time like I've been in Arizona just to like for leisure. It's always like a layover or something. So that might be an unfair indictment on Arizona and Phoenix, but they're gonna have to take my condemnation for this week.
What's that line from King of the Hill? Sieves? Phoenix is a monument to man's arrogance.
Yeah.
Man should not live there. It's the fucking desert.
Peggy says that, yeah.
Yeah. It's 120 like during the summer. Like, what do you do?
It is bad in the summer, yes.
And it's just rocks. I mean, I think we talked about it in Salt Lake. We went to Salt Lake, but some people like that vibe. It's not my vibe. I like the foresty vibe much more.
I concur.
Anything else, Brian?
Nope, that's pretty much it, honestly.
I'll go.
Quick question.
I'll go next. Oh, sorry.
Wait, quick question for Brian. When you get married, are you doing an ethnic Vietnamese wedding?
Probably some aspect of it, but probably not the full thing. Why?
That's the morning. Like you go to Iranians, you go to Indian weddings. We can't get a Vietnamese wedding, Brian.
Hey, it's more so a problem with me, dude. I'm just an Asian guy. Just an Asian guy, dude. Just a California Asian guy, dude.
Oh no.
not that I have a problem. Just like like my upbringing, or like my just how I have lived my life.
Fry guy, dude. Just fry guy.
Yeah, just fry guy, dude.
Culturally Brian.
All right, Steve, it's all you.
All right, so just quick busts and one Bool. It's busty when you wake up in the morning and you've slept with your arm like in a whack position and it's just completely numb. That happened to me this morning. I woke up
for sure.
For some reason, I fell asleep with my arm above my head, and just as soon as I woke up, I was like, "Oh God!" And like you throw your arm down and you're just like, "This is the wackest thing." And this one lasted for quite a while, so I had to like stand up and like was trying to like get feeling back, and it just didn't go well. So that's like my first quick bust.
I always wonder, is it like, because that happens to me sometimes also, like, is it ever possible for you to just like have been sleeping on it too long and it's like, I don't know, like
they have to amputate?
not amputate, but like some sort of like
Gangrene.
injury, like some sort of injury or something like that, because you've
that
just
was
like
my concern. Because I was wondering, like, this is like pretty like loose. Like, if I just like accidentally lower my arm too quickly, could I just like tear my shoulder or something?
I don't know. Yeah, like
I couldn't
that's
find
why I asked.
info. Because it feels like your arm like basically doesn't exist, and it's like, why this doesn't feel like a chill movement? Like something feels off with this, but I guess it's fine. And the second bust is just the way like online discourse shapes how you're thinking during a game. Like yesterday during that Wolves Nuggets game, when Ant was having like a pretty awful offensive game, I was just like thinking about like, man, like I hope this doesn't fucking end like this, because Twitter's just going to be very insufferable. ESPN figureheads are going to say asinine shit, and I don't enjoy having to like project what morons are going to say while I'm watching a game, and I it's a problem that I think you hear like Russillo talk about it on Bill's pod yesterday. It's a thing that like us terminally online people have to like think about. Like I was really like saying to my friend who's a Wolves fan, like, man, Ant's like having the type of game where I'm gonna have to like avoid NBA Twitter for like a week, because this is just like fucking. It's gonna be annoying. People are gonna be like, oh, this is MJ's son. MJ didn't go 6 of 24 or whatever, and I was just like, this is so. I don't know. People need to become much smarter, or the internet needs to be taken away from us, because I think it's evolved to a point where we're in dire straits. And then my quick Bool is just Terrence Howard on Joe Rogan. It's very entertaining. Terrence Howard, one of the
I saw
that seems
that
like an
he was
explosive
there.
combination.
It's great.
Yeah,
it's great.
I saw that he was there, but I didn't quite take a look at it.
More provocative thought leaders of our time.
Okay, that's
they talk about teriology.
I haven't got to that part. They talk a lot about wave conjugations. What do you
know? Whatever that is. No, I don't know what that is.
Yeah. Do you know Terrence Howard is actually responsible for the current state of VR and AR in the world? And he actually showed the patent, and he actually kind of is, which is very funny.
I'll need to take a look at that.
Yeah, Brian, he's very responsible for a lot of things you're into. You should probably respect the man more.
Yeah, thank him.
So yeah, shout out Terrence Howard. Much love.
That's just from C's, by the way.
No, it's a big endorsement from the pod.
The pod, all members of the pod. All right, to me. So I will start with 2 bulls, and then I 1 bust. The bust might feel targeted, but it's not. Let me put it out there. Okay. All right. The bull is Premier League. We spent an hour talking about it, Sebastian, but like I've been in for the last 2 years after taking like 3 or 4 years off, just in the depths of Arsenal's stink. But now for the last 2 years, when the team is good and the trajectory is up, it's really fun. It's I really look forward to it every weekend, watching every game, and I care about it deeply. And this is one of the best races, even though we lost in a long time. So Premier League for me. A bull. I think I talked to Steves about this when I was at his home, but I won't say what I said to him there. But I picked up a new TV show from YouTube clips, and it's not really for my demographic, but
yes,
but I have to stand behind it no matter what the haters say. I think this is a very good TV show. It's old, but New Girl with Zooey Deschanel is actually a very good TV show.
What the hell, dude?
Yeah,
where is this coming from?
I didn't think you were gonna say it on the pod. This is quite great.
Yeah,
what the hell, dude?
I know, just like my K-pop phase, that it's not traditionally masculine show or masculine endeavor, and it's the demographic is not for me. I said it to Sebastian in a different way that I won't say, but the demographic for these types of shows is not for me. So I understand that it's crazy, but it's actually, from the clips, it was quite funny. I find both of the leads, female leads, very attractive. I find all of the male leads very funny, and unique in their personalities, and it's a good show. I'll just leave it there.
We're very inclusive here on the pod. It's more it's just very surprising. Is all.
It is. I don't know why it came on my YouTube recommended, but I've binged like 2 or 3 seasons. It's good. In the last week.
So you've gone through them.
Yeah,
I was telling Ashwin like sometimes shows that are like designed. I don't know how to say this. Like,
90 Day. We enjoy 90 Day.
No, 90 Days a toxic, horrible show that I laugh at. It's not like a serious show. Like sometimes dramas designed for women are very good and better than a lot of shows.
Can you give me an example?
The Affair. The Affair is one of my all-time favorite shows. With Dominic
And you think
West.
it was made specifically for women?
I might be pushing the boundary of being for both, but I remember being very surprised when I found out my grandpa liked it because I felt like it was kind of highly targeted for like a woman's audience. But I really enjoyed The Affair.
Each to their own, yeah. My bust is VTubers.
Don't do this.
Our friend talked about it, but it was nothing to do with him. I looked it up and I actually watched one of her streams, IRL streams, and it was just the dumbest shit I've ever seen, dude. I don't understand the concept of VTubers at all.
Interestingly enough, even though I'm like very also quite terminally online and I like anime, things like that, you would think I would find some enjoyment in it, but I also find it to be kind of like...
It's not anime, it's like bestiality, dude. It's like...
No, it's anime!
Anime
it's
woman.
anime! It's anime! It's anime, dude! It's anime!
No,
it's anime!
What YouTubes are you watching, bro?
Yeah, it's anime, dude!
With cat ears, okay? So,
Yeah, sure, sure.
That was the first instance, and it was like... The cooking stream was her, like, with her VTuber person, cooking
real
with
food?
the VTuber. Yeah, real food.
How does that work?
Like it was overlaid over... It was an IRL strip.
Yeah. That's just what they do. Yeah, that's just what they do.
And then there's a commentator in the Dota space who, like, had disappeared for 6 months. And then it came up on Reddit, where is so-and-so? Oh, so-and-so has decided to stop casting Dota to work actively on their VTuber career. I'm like, what the hell? And then I go into her. She has like 45,000 followers, just watching this stupid shit of like, not even like they play games as VTubers, they cook as VTubers, they go out in real life as VTubers. Like, when does it end? I don't know.
I think it is. I mean, before I was interrupted, like I think it just appeals to like the anime fan, like honestly like the lonely anime fan having some sort of kind of like that connection with what is a real person behind an anime avatar, and like I was saying, like even though I'm somebody who is on the internet a lot, I can't find a lot of interest in it personally. It's just a little too I don't know, just not for me.
That makes 2 of us, Brian.
Different strokes for different folks, guys.
Yeah, just not for me.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Top 5, mine this week. I've started getting back into lifting, so I thought it'd be interesting to hear you guys' favorite lifts, what you guys enjoy doing. It can be a combination of lifts that you enjoy doing or lifts that make you particularly pumped or sore, or however you want to describe it. However you guys describe it. Who wants to go first? Yeah,
I'm down to go, but I have a quick question. There's one in particular. Does like a body weight exercise count?
Of course, anything.
I think
like
so.
Any exercise. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, well then, to first start off at number 5, I have bent over rows. The compound lift. I think it's a great compound lift. Good core work just to keep yourself stable. Great for the back. So big bent over lifts, barbell bent over lifts person. Number 4, I have squats, but not necessarily, not like barbell squats. I'm not really trying to lift like crazy these days in terms of like max weight. I'm just talking like a dumbbell squat, get like a good weight for you. And do, anywhere from 8 to 12 reps. I think it's just in terms of the whole kind of like functional movement theme. I'm just a big fan of squats. It always makes me feel kind of like that full body fitness, essentially. Number 3, I have like an incline bench machine. That in particular, just in your introduction, always get mad pumped on the incline bench machine. So I like doing that one a lot.
Is that the seated one where you just go
seated?
Up a bit? Okay,
yeah, and then you put like 45 or however 45 like plates on. You put plates on,
big
on each
guy.
side. So that one in particular, I just think is like good for the chest.
All right.
Number 2, I have burpees. I think it's kind of a good exercise, cardio plus kind of some strength, a combination of all of those things. And then last one, I have deadlifts. I do like deadlifts. So this is probably the one exercise that I still do try to lift quite heavy. Like I'll do like 5 sets of 5 for it. Yeah, it just feels great. I think I just feel pretty strong and like kind of fit when I do deadlifts. But of the lifts, because again, I'm not really trying to like lift too heavy these days for the sake of kind of like injury prevention and stuff. Deadlifts is still the one that like I do kind of push myself kind of hard in. And then for my honorable mention, I have cable crunches. I think that they're just like the best ab exercise. Essentially, it's easy to
done like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're easy to increase weight. It's easy to see progress in them, right? I think that when you're doing like kind of purely body weight crunches, it's like hard to see progress really, because you can have like a lot of burn, but you're not necessarily kind of making a whole bunch of progress. So this one, you can keep it within a good rep range. Once you kind of exceed that rep range, you can increase weight, et cetera. So that is my list.
Solid list, Brian.
All right. I'll go next then. At 5, I have barbell curls. I like going quite heavy on barbell curls. I hate the easy curl bar. That's why I specified barbell curls. I find easy curl bar is ass, basically.
Do you guys get pain down your forearm when you use the easy bar? Am I doing something wrong there?
I find it to be very awkward, honestly. Maybe it's just I'm stupid and using it wrong.
I think I've seen also or like read that the easy bar is actually just like not that great for like improvement in biceps.
Yeah, I see. I like going quite heavy on the barbell curl. I don't know. It's probably stupid, but I feel like you see better growth if you do. 4, I have reverse grip dumbbell bench press, either like incline or flat. Either way, I think it's good for like your lower chest.
So
3,
what, like this?
Yeah, like that, basically.
Interesting. I never heard of that. Okay.
Yeah, it's quite good. 3, I have RDLs, Romanian deadlifts.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Very good for the hamstrings and lower back, I feel like also slightly.
Hips.
I've kind of stopped doing
back.
heavy. Yeah, I've kind of stopped doing heavy deadlifts just because, like, I don't know, I kind of hurt my back. Not doing deadlifts, but like I hurt it doing something else, and I felt like I was stressed out about hurting my back again doing regular deadlifts. So I kind of just started doing RDLs. I know they're not like 1-for-1, but I like them. 2, I have weighted hanging leg raises.
Steve, my man, dude.
I think that those are actually the best ab exercise. No offense, Brian, but
it's fine. But I also do those. I also do those.
Yeah, I have cable crunches actually second. I do both of those. Like those are like the only ab exercises I really do. I feel like it's all you really do need to do. And 1, I have lat pull down / pull ups. Like either way, I feel like they're both lat exercises. Pull ups obviously are better, but I think both are pretty essential, and I'm a fan of both. And for honorable mentions, I have dumbbell shoulder press and hack squats.
Nice.
I like hack squats because they isolate quads a little more. You do probably have to supplement like with RDLs for your full leg benefit. You might want to do like some what are those glute bridges. Is that what people call them? Glute raises. Also to work the glutes, because I don't think hack squats hit them as effectively. But yeah, that's my top 5 list of lifts.
Very nice. Okay, to me, I'll start with squats at 5, like getting that lug pump once every 6 months or something. Yeah, squats are good. I think I always start off with the leg. When I come back to lifting, I always start off the legs, and squats is on that list. Number 4, I have lat pull downs. I like doing lat pull downs because, like I mentioned, Siebes, I find it difficult to do pull ups. So I've been working on the lat pull downs. Always feel it, and I can. The best thing about the lat pull downs is I feel like I have good form more than any other machine. It's very easy to maintain good form there. Number 3, knee raises. Like Sebastian said, I like whenever I do them, it's so hard, and my abs are sore for days afterwards. It's really, and I think more than anything, it hits the lower abs too, right? Which is tough to hit. Number 2, dumbbell bench press, go to for chest, and then number 1, RDLs. I think I told you, Brian. I can't do the good form with the normal deadlifts because my legs come off the ground. I don't know what's inflexible or what's weak there, but whenever I reach down, like the bottom of my legs come up, so I do RDLs instead. Honorable mention would be skull crushers and military press. Question.
Nice.
Military press. For shoulders in general, I don't feel that sore when I do them. Is that normal for you guys?
Add flies.
Add flies? What do you mean, like this?
Those front ones, yeah. Rear ones.
I do the front ones.
Or pec deck?
Pec deck is more like,
chest.
Like what you're talking
like
about.
Front delts. It's like front delts.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You do reverse though. You can do reverse, right, backwards, and that does the delts.
It's like the same as a rear delt fly. Yeah.
So yeah, whenever I do chest and biceps together, and I don't really feel it in my shoulders, and I do more shoulders than biceps by far. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but yeah, thanks for the input. Huh? What do you say?
Go heavier.
Maybe you're right. Yeah, I don't push myself as hard as I should, for sure. Okay, thanks for the input. I will add to what you guys said. It's like my what's the word? Test group.
Or it felt like it was group. An intel stealing exercise. If you want,
it was a focus group. So that now that I'm starting to lift again,
selfish means, dude.
I could easily tell what it was when you proposed it. I thought about it, and this is Ashwin stealing like lifts.
It was the same thing as the app one. I wanted new apps that were useful.
That's like what made you remember. Actually, I was like, Ashwin's done this before.
It's for the people too, for the listeners.
Rat bastard, dude.
Just dishonest. That's all. I feel you.
If I was honest about it next time, would you be okay with it?
You probably did the right thing.
Okay. All right, Brian, all you. Song of the week.
The song of the week is "Feel Yourself" by Flaming Yosis and Mark Rebier. Flaming Yosis, obviously, big fan. He just released an album recently. Mark Rebier kind of made his rise to fame being great at improv, especially on like YouTube and stuff. And they're both the artists that I like, and they have a song together so that I discovered just when I saw this album. So and it's a chill song. So it's like funk. Kind of like that funk vibe. Now that Flaming Yosis has gotten farther in his career, he's not just like sampling stuff. He's like actually like playing instruments and things like that. So it's kind of cool to see them kind of like start to mature in their careers a bit as like funk artists essentially. So yeah, Feel Yourself, Flaming Yosis, Mark Rebier.
All right. Thanks to Brian for producing. Thanks to Sebastian for doing that extra long soccer segment. You'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Come and get it, Dep. Woo! yourself.